95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona and away. Joe for the first time. Nicholas Borcel, Sean.
Jose Most get through unscathed. Look at that. There's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's. Possibly a little bit of contact.
Now as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for circuit disqualification. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 the lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Alpha Touring Challenge Season number 8. We are here for round number 4 at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. This is the first time that I've ever been to this track, and I am certainly excited to be here. My name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here tonight. 1080p 60 frames a second as we gear up for another fantastic round of racing here with the folks at Alpha Touring Challenge. It is going to be a similar setup to what we saw for the first race at Long Beach, a 20-minute sprint followed by a 30-minute race. Now, I could be wrong about that first race. I might have misremembered the track on the first race. Anywho, anyhow, that's neither here nor there. We are going to go ahead and gear up for qualifying, currently underway as drivers now get themselves out onto track and prepare to get those tires warmed up and ready for the 15 minutes qualifying that we have currently underway. Logan McKenzie, Aaron Law, Scott Wybe, just to name a few to kick off the first few drivers out here on track to get those tires warmed up and ready to go here for our qualifying. And I got to tell you, folks, I've had a busy night here so far already, coming from the Team Goon Squad Cup Series broadcast that just ended quite literally a few minutes ago, and coming right over here to Canada. It was, it's craziest thing I've ever had. I had a flight from Las Vegas all the way here to Canada in like a few minutes. It's, just absolute insanity. And I'm only joking, folks. But anyhow, we've had some fantastic rounds here with the Alpha Touring Challenge, and I gotta say, so far, from what we've seen, the racing has been absolutely fantastic, and with how the folks here with ATC, they've got a variety of kind of race formats. We have the 20-30 setup that we have, which we're racing on today. They also have a 60-minute setup as well, so kind of two different variations that we'll see varying on the track, but it is just absolutely fantastic to see how well these drivers have done throughout this season. And looking at our previous race was at Charlotte Motor Speedway at the Roval, and we had some very, very good racing there, where we saw Mr. Micah Hendricks coming away with the win, Wojciech coming away in second, and Logan McKenzie in that third place position. The race before that, we were at Watkins Glen International, and Edward Gorman taking away the win there. Micah Hendricks in second, Logan McKenzie in third. Just to round out the last two races that we've seen here with Alpha Touring. And as we get ready to kick off our fourth round of the season, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the point standings and where drivers currently sit at the moment. Now, Micah Hendricks currently dominating the point standings with 150 points, but only 11 points behind him is Logan McKenzie in that second place spot. David Bauer in third place with 121 points. Robert Adams in fourth place with 110 points. And Andrew Parente in fifth place with 100 points here today. So if all things go well here for Logan McKenzie, he is going to be putting on a good fight for points here tonight. Micah Hendricks also going to be looking to secure a good position to continue to keep that lead in the points. Still early in the season, Still a lot of races left to be done, but you always want to make the best performance that you can. Regardless of wherever you are in points, you could have a crushing lead, and you get complacent, you can definitely lose that lead before too long. Now you can take a look on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see the best time that drivers have put in here currently, the drivers that have put in an official time here. Logan McKenzie currently at the top of the field with a 126.89 as his best time here at the moment. Wow, as he comes across the line, almost a 126 flat here for Logan McKenzie, just crushing it. John Lazan comes into third, but as Dan McFarlane comes across the line, he pushes his way up into second place, bringing that time down just a little bit here. But you can tell, you can see just the difference between a cold set of tires and a fresh or a warm set of tires. As far as pace is concerned, you definitely have to take things a little bit easier than one might expect. Slugnificent moves up into the 5th place spot here with a 126.5. And speaking of teams here, excuse me, as I lost my train of thought. Yellow Flag Motorsports currently dominating the team championship with 88 points. 67 points in second place is Team Second Breakfast. And Real Friends Racing in third place with 51 points. 1 point behind them, Breakfast for Dinner in fourth place. And Curb Your Enthusiasm Autosport in fifth place with 45 points here at the moment. So for the third place position, it is a very, very tight battle between Real Friends Racing and Breakfast for Dinner. And we've seen the Breakfast team do absolutely incredible here these past few races, where we've seen John Lazan do well. We've also seen David Bauer, and I'm trying to find the other name here. Was it Kurt Smith that I was looking for? Either way, point being here is that these drivers, for Team Second Breakfast and Breakfast for Dinner, they have done absolutely incredible in these past few races, and I'm expecting to see more or less the same here. But Yellow Flag Motorsports, they're obviously going to be looking to secure more, as many top 10, top 5 positions as they can to continue that lead here for the team championship. Now, Micah Hendricks with Team Curb Your Enthusiasm Autosport, with them being in 5th place here. I believe Micah is actually kind of carrying the team here at the moment. I would have to double check that. Kind of. The only reason I say that is because a lot of his team has not been present for every race. His teammates being Adrian Fedorowski, Micah Hendricks, Matthew Repka, and Francois Schink. Now, we've obviously seen these drivers before, but when you only have one out of the 4 drivers of your team in a race, it definitely can have a huge impact on your ability to compete for those team points. But some drivers, some teams, obviously, this is all just for fun. This is not something that drivers are, fighting for tooth and nail, competing for $1,000 cash prizes or things along those lines. But obviously there are still drivers out there that are competitive in that in sense that they want to see those points, they want to see those standings in their favor, and I have all the respect for that. A winning mindset is something that you'll find very often in the motorsport realm. Dan McFarlane currently on pole with a 125.5 as his best time. Edward Gorman in that second place spot, just 1/10 behind that, and Micah Hendricks in that third place position here at the moment. So Dan McFarlane here with, I'm trying to get a clock on with Team Sim Racing Grid looking very, very good here today. And with just about 6 minutes left to go here in qualifying, I've got to say, I mean, if he can start out on the front row, this is going to be a great race here for Dan. Excuse me, I keep saying Dane. It's not Dane, it's Dan. So for Dan here, this is going to be a great start to his race. And I want to say Dan has actually had a few good races here in the past couple weeks. So last week he finished 4th. The week before that he finished... Gotta find his name here. Does not look like he actually participated last week. So let's see if he participated the week before that. Interesting. So maybe it was just the last race that we seen him in. Okay. Well, either way, Dan's going to continue that trend. I mean, he finished 4th place last week. I'm more than certain that he's going to be looking to do much the same here today. And with holding the lead, holding the pole by just a few hundredths of a second, he just might be able to pull it off here tonight if he can stay calm and stay consistent. Now, luckily, with this 20-30 setup, now I believe it's the top 10 are inverted for the feature race here tonight. But either way, I mean, it's going to be a great start here for Dan. Edward Gorman going to be right alongside him. But Micah Hendricks, as he crosses the line, a 1/10 of a second improvement here for the 473 machine, and he's able to push his way back up into the lead for provisional pole. And with under 4 minutes left to go, it's coming down to the wire here. Drivers are going to have only a couple laps at best to try and improve their times here. And between Micah Hendricks, Dan McFarlane, Edward Gorman, Logan McKenzie, there's only a few tenths of a second separating these drivers here today. And already the Team Yellow Flag Motorsports have started to really show up here in the top 10 in numbers, at least for the most part. We've got Connor Acatella up here, Logan McKenzie there in 4th place, and I believe Eric Statzer here as well, here in 10th at the moment. So, I mean, all 3 of these drivers for Team Yellow Flag Motorsports being in the top 10 is going to be a very good way to start off the race here today at Canada. And speaking of, I've never done a lap here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, so we should do a ride on board here. We'll do that with Noel Fulgenzi and get just an idea of what a lap looks like here, as we only have 2 minutes left to go in qualifying. And we'll just take a short ride on board here with Noel and just get an idea of what it's like here, as this is the first time I've ever seen an onboard of this track, so this is all brand new to me. A lot of, well, the first couple sweeping apexes there, that is definitely one that can definitely get you if you're not careful with your throttle. If you're just on the gas a little bit too much for too long, you'll find yourself out in the grass, and it's definitely a tough balance. But you definitely got to appreciate tracks like this that just try and push those drivers in that sense where you got to have that throttle control, you got to have that track awareness to be able to be fast here and avoid those kind of mistakes. I believe this will be, yep, it is, the final turn across the checkered line. So there it is, a ride on board there with Noel Fulgenzi and in the number 97 machine here in 15th at the moment here in qualifying. But just under 30 seconds left to go before the flag stand waves the checkered flag. And we will move on to our first race of the night, the 20-minute sprint here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for round number 4 of the Alpha Touring Challenge season number 8. And there it is. It ended a little bit faster than I expected, but up in the front row, Micah Hendricks, Dan McFarlane. Second row, Edward Gorman, Logan McKenzie. Third row, Raymond Tu, Slugnificent. Fourth row is Connor Acatella and John Lazan. Fifth row is Aaron Law and Kevin Clark. Sixth row, Eric Statzer and David Bauer. Moving on down the grid, we have Mark Darnell and Zach Perry in our 7th row, Noel Fulgenzi and Kirk Lane in our 8th row. Trevor Lambert Lee and Scott Weeb in our 9th row. Stephen Lakota and Andrew Parente in our final row here tonight as drivers get themselves lined up onto the starting grid and prepare for the green flag to drop here for the very first time here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Just about a minute to go before the green flag officially drops here. And as I mentioned, folks, Dan McFarlane, Logan McKenzie and Micah Hendricks are close in points for the Drivers' Championship. And we also have battles for the team championships here as well. For third place between Real Friends Racing and Breakfast for Dinner by 1 point, and Second Breakfast just 11 points behind. Or excuse me, almost 19 points behind Yellow Flag Motorsports. And here it is. The 5 red lights about to tick away here for the first time. And away we go. The green flag drops for the first time. Drivers trying to find the room to squeeze in as they head into turn 1. Mostly everyone doing fairly well in this off the start here. No one finding themselves off into the grass, and no one really banging doors with one another, getting too aggressive early on. 20 minutes of racing that these drivers have. The stopwatch has started. And right now, Micah Hendricks, your current race leader. Dan McFarlane trying to see if he can get ahead. He's doing so right now. Will that last? Edward Gorman also trying to get into the mix here as Logan McKenzie right into that 4th place position. All of these drivers stacked up single file. One mistake can mean the difference between leading the race and having to fight your way back up to the front. As again, right now, everyone stacked up relatively calmly in single file formation. I don't think anyone is going to be too brave on these cold sets of tires. And also, this track does not seem like it's going to bode well in favor for passing. It's definitely going to come down to consistency more than anything, I would have to imagine, because there just does not seem like there's a whole lot of room or even places where you can keep that momentum up to make these passes happen. It seems like a very flowing sort of circuit where you don't really have any hard stops, like any hairpins or things of that nature, where You're really slowing these cars down and giving drivers the opportunity to close the distance. But not saying that these drivers aren't right up on one another. We can see a few drivers trying to push here. Noel Fulgenzi almost getting up to the tail of Kirk Lane in the 881 Honda. Just under 0.2 of a second between these two drivers here at the moment. But as for the rest of the field, again, they're finding their spots here. They're getting settled out at least as much as they can, and just being patient. That is going to be the crucial part of this race here, is being patient for every single one of these drivers, because again, one mistake is going to cost you dearly. I mean, these drivers are all with roughly under a full second here at the moment, and that could mean 10, 15 drivers pass you in a matter of seconds before you're able to recover and get yourself back out on track here. Logan McKenzie getting a good run here on Edward Gorman as they come across the checkered line heading into turn one. They get side by side. McKenzie still trying to look to that inside. Doesn't quite get it this time by. Edward Gorman trying to do everything he can to keep that 137 ahead of Logan here. But Logan definitely putting the pressure on. We're going to ride on the nose camera of that 04 machine. And it looks like Kirk Lane finding himself in a bit of trouble here with Noel Fulgenzi as well. Let's take a look at a quick instant replay just to get an idea of, just literally flirted with the grass a little bit. Noel trying to avoid that. Man, oh man. And like I said, folks, all it takes is one little move, one little mistake, and really on Kirk's part, that wasn't even a mistake on his part. He just got a little too far over the curb, and iRacing grass is not like normal real grass where it's, it's just glass. It's just slippery glass here in the iRacing service. But it is what it is, and luckily for Kirk Lane, he's not out of the race. So I think he can be pretty happy about that, I would say, all things considered. Looking out the tail view of Edward Gorman's machine, you can see just how much Logan McKenzie is attacking this right now, and how much he's trying to find an open door to go through. And Edward is just not making it easy here for Logan, as he should. He's definitely making a good fight here for the second place position, and as they're doing so, they're actually closing in on Dan McFarlane, who's now going to be side by side with Micah Hendricks, door to door, almost making contact with one another, it looked like there for a second. But keeping things calm and steady as they come out of the final couple turns. Dan McFarlane's going to be the one out ahead. Micah Hendricks trying to give it everything he can out of the final turn. Heading off into turn one. Going to keep the momentum up. Staying right on the door. Going to try not and get into the grass there. He does a little bit, but keeps the car straight. Micah Hendricks now going to be back in the lead, but only by a few inches as they continue this fight. And there goes Hendricks sideways into the grass. Going to try and avoid the barrier. A little slap to the rear end, but I don't think that's going to be too bad. As Micah Hendricks makes his way back out onto track, he's going to fall down to 8th place. A tough break here for Micah Hendricks. And now going to have to fight a little bit of traffic to get back up to the front. And if he can even pull that off here, as that is going to be a lot easier said than done. Dan McFarlane, though, going to be back under fire from Edward Gorman as he tries to make an attempt for a pass here, getting to the outside. Not quite going to be able to make it stick this time around, but still right on the rear wing of that number 23 machine, Edward Gorman, along with Logan McKenzie. These two drivers definitely giving it everything they've got here. And let's ride on board for just a moment here with Logan McKenzie, just to get an onboard look at this battle and just how difficult it actually is. And listen closely to the throttle input. I'll be quiet here for a minute, but just listen to what these drivers are having to do with these cars. Had to appreciate the sounds of these cars, albeit they don't produce a whole lot of horsepower. They're not the fastest things out there, but they definitely do sound nice in the service, and they definitely seem like a lot of fun to be behind the wheel of. I have not yet been able to get behind the wheel myself and do a race in one of these cars, but just from what I've seen, I can tell that it is a lot of fun. And folks, if you want to be a part of this series, if you want to join the Alpha Touring Challenge, you can find more information on how to be a part of their series by heading to their Discord, which I believe is in the description of this broadcast. You can find it there. I'm trying to remember if they have a website or not. So their website is, it's a lengthy one, but it's alphatouringchallenge.wordpress.com. You can head on over there and you can be a part of this very exciting series and see if you've got what it takes to be up here running with some of the best drivers in this series. Dan McFarlane, Edward Gorman, Logan McKenzie, all in a tight pack here, a battle for the lead that has been going on for quite some time. But we'll tune back here just a little bit briefly here for the battle between Connor Acatella and John Lazan. Slugnificent also kind of loosely in this battle here as well. You can see him just a little further up ahead. But as we have surpassed the halfway mark in today's sprint race, we'll call it, it's getting down to the point where any drivers that were hoping for any sort of major position gains, that's going to be not as hopeful. And now it's going to be a matter of just keeping your head down and staying consistent and hoping that someone's going to make a mistake ahead of you and you'll be able to capitalize on that position and work from there. But like I mentioned earlier, this is definitely not an easy track to make passes happen. Not a lot of places where these cars are getting slowed down enough to the point where you can kind of push the braking zone a little bit. You can really try and send that car into a corner or into a turn to try and bring down that gap. So again, it's all going to come down to consistency and how well you're able to execute your laps. How well you're able to execute your laps every single time. But Dan McFarlane back under fire here from Edward Gorman. Edward right on the tail. Goes a little wide on this turn. Dan McFarlane gets right back into the lead, but they are nose to tail here for the lead. And Dan McFarlane, Edward Gorman basically just pushing Dan up the hill now at this point. It is absolutely insane to me just how well these cars draft with one another and how these guys are just interlocked. There it is, the slingshot move from Dan McFarlane. Or from Edward Gorman, rather. Gorman trying to make the slingshot happen. Doesn't quite work for him this time around. And as Logan McKenzie closes the distance between these two, it's only getting spicier here in the battle for the lead. And as we are about almost 5 minutes left to go here in our sprint race, I mean, these guys continue to fight it out here in this battle for the lead. And we've got a couple other battles happening out on track here as well. We'll tune into the battle between Zach Perry, Kevin Clark, almost side by side between these two here for the battle for 12th position. Coming out of the final few turns here, Zach Perry's going to be the one to get just enough air ahead of him. But now he's going to be interlocked here with Kevin Clark, who's right on the bumper, heading off into turn one. Clark is definitely doing everything in his power to try and build the draft up and get alongside him, and try and get in an ideal position to realistically kind of throw Zach Perry off of his line here and open up the door for himself. But again, that's going to be easier said than done on a track like this. Back to the fight for the lead. Edward Gorman right back into it as we see Logan McKenzie also trying to squeeze his way into the mix of things as well. Logan McKenzie looks to the inside of Dan McFarlane and wow, makes it happen. Dan McFarlane dropping from the lead back to third. Edward Gorman now going to be in front. Logan McKenzie with the great, he placed himself perfectly there to make that happen. And he saw the opportunity and capitalized on it. Perfect execution here from Logan McKenzie. Now Dan's got to reciprocate that, try and figure out if he can make the same thing happen or try and come up with a response here. As these guys continue their fight, less than almost 3 minutes left to go before the checkered flag flies. And we're still seeing some great battles happening throughout the track here. Raymond 2, Slugnificent side by side. The battle for 4th place here. As Slugnificent, get a little bit of slide there. Makes contact with 2. They both keep it together. Oh, man. The fact that they both managed to keep their cars going straight here is just remarkable. Folks, I can't tell you how difficult that is to do in a matter of a blink of an eye, essentially. It is very easy to let these cars get out. Whoa! Micah Hendricks showing us a little bit of what I mean. Oh boy. David Bauer getting into a massive slide here, but saves it. These guys are just full of saves tonight. I'm loving it. Raymond 2, John Lazan, they continue their bit of a battle here for 5th place. The 996 machine giving it all that he's got here to keep this 5th place spot. And Slugnificent just up ahead with clean air. Nothing but clean air ahead of him. He's going to try and build that distance up if he can. But a minute and 30 left to go. It's all just a matter of finishing out this last lap. Edward Gorman, your race leader still at this moment. Logan McKenzie, Dan McFarlane in 2nd and 3rd respectively still. Various battles happening around the track, but we'll keep an eye on this one as we are now a minute left to go. And this will be the last lap. Because if I'm not mistaken, before they should see the checkered flag fly right up until they get to that kind of chicane there, the last couple turns. Or maybe even just before that on the straightaway. Logan McKenzie right on the tail of Edward Gorman here, trying to build that draft up. Looks to the outside, and can he build the momentum up? Gets up to the door, or at least the quarter panel. Let's see if he can keep going here. Edward Gorman gonna try and stay defensive here. Logan McKenzie still looking for that door. There it is, the checkered flag. It's the last turn, and there it is, folks. As clean as it can get here between these drivers. Edward Gorman takes the checkered flag. Logan McKenzie in 2nd, and Dan McFarlane coming away in 3rd. As Slugnificent comes across the line for a 4th place finish, and a pack of drivers comes across the line here just behind them as we await the rest of the field to do the same here. All right, so as we have now completed our sprint race here tonight. We'll take a look at our post-race results for the sprint and take a quick look at where drivers finished and how everyone fared. Edward Gorman coming away with that W. Logan McKenzie in 2nd place. Dan McFarlane in 3rd, Slugnificent in 4th place, Raymond 2 finishing it out in 15th. And you can see where the rest of the field finished on your screen at the moment. It should be fitting everyone here at the moment. And we've got a few minutes to go before we kick off the next part of our session here. So while that happens, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a commercial break up here in the booth. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back for more action here in just a few minutes. And folks, I am certainly looking forward to it. We'll be back in just a few short minutes, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Alrighty, folks. As we only have just a few seconds remaining before we see the end of our warm-up session and we move on to our feature event. 30 minutes of racing here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park to round out round 4 of season number 8. And there it is, the checkered flag will fly, and we will get into our starting grid here in just a moment. All right, so up in the front row, we have Aaron Law, David Bauer. Second row is Micah Hendricks and Connor Acatella. Third row, John Lazan and Raymond Tu. Fourth row is Slugnificent and Dan McFarlane. Fifth row, Logan McKenzie, Edward Gorman. Sixth row is Eric Statzer and Zach Perry. Moving on down the grid here, we have Mark Darnell, Scott Weeb in 7th row. Kevin Clark and Noel Fulgenzi in our 8th row. Kirk Lane, Trevor Lambert-Lee in our 8th row, and Stephen Lakota and Andrew Parente in our 9th row, rounding out the field here tonight. As we gear up for our feature event. Just a few short moments remaining before we see the 5 red lights. There it is.
Green's out. Green flag. Green flag.
Alrighty, folks. Aaron Law, David Bauer, Micah Hendricks all take the green flag, and it's a dash into turn 1. Few drivers trying to take things 3 wide here a couple times throughout the field, but up in the front, it is looking rather interesting here. Some of the drivers going single file, but a few of them still looking for that door-to-door action as we are trying to keep up with it, trying to see who is doing what at this moment. And it looks like, I believe, Slugnificent here in 5th, managing to just get out of the little bit of side-by-side action that we have here just in this, looks like just outside of the top 5. Slugnificent flirting a little bit there with the edge of the track, but keeping it together as his teammate. Connor Roccatella is just going to be just behind him, just about 2 tenths separating these 2 drivers here at the moment. But we also have Edward Gorman, Raymond 2 behind them, and their other teammate, Logan McKenzie, who is looking to make his way up to the front of the field as quickly as he can while he can. Because as folks, I mean, there will not be any cautions, and as far as from what we've seen in the sprint race, things will settle out. It's just a matter of when. And here it is, the action brewing up here towards the front of the pack. Aaron Law, Micah Hendricks, multiple other drivers side by side. As they head off into turn 1, everyone making it through nice and clean. Looks like there was a couple, or a 3 wide there for a second. It might have, excuse me, it might have just been the camera angle, but it definitely looked like some drivers were seeing that door and they were trying to take it. Probably not the track I would want to do it at, but that's just me personally. It does not seem like it would end well for myself. But for these guys, it seems to be a very, very different story with the caliber of drivers that we have in this field. These are very, very experienced drivers, and it shows. Just a lovely view of the field. Coming down the long straight-ish that we have on the backside of the track. Connor Roccatella, John Lazan, definitely feeling the pressure here from the Yellow Flag Motorsports driver. And realistically, all of these guys are within tenths of a second of each other, so it's not like John is being singled out here. But just to have this sort of pressure behind you is definitely not something that you that you want to have for long. And here it is. Connor Roccatella, Edward Gorman, they're going to go side by side. Gorman's going to be able to squeeze himself out ahead into 6th place here. So Edward Gorman, after coming away with the win for the sprint race, is looking to push his way back up as close as he can to the top 3 as possible. And right now, he has got a good chance of doing so if he can get that clean air, which he has right now, and get a little bit of support from behind in the form of draft to really keep that momentum forward for that 137. We've already seen that he's been able to withstand the pressure of being chased and having drivers behind him really trying to get the edge on him. So will that continue in this feature race, or will things kind of change here a little bit? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm very impressed from what I'm seeing here from Edward Gorman. I mean, he is just on fire here tonight in Canada. It's just great to see. John Lazan, though, not having the best time with internet connection at the moment. You're seeing him kind of disappear and reappear on track. And that's not an ideal situation. I know a lot of broadcasting teams, they don't like to talk about these things, but me personally, it's something that affects the racing sometimes severely. And it's just one of those things that when it happens, you really have to make a decision as a driver. You either commit and just keep going, keep holding your line, or you get a little sketched out and you back off, you slow down because you don't want to run into the car that just disappeared and might somehow appear in your hood. It's one of those things in sim racing, those types of issues can really have an impact on your race here. But we've still got side-by-side racing, so drivers are definitely not fearing it too much, and it seems like John Lazan, I mean, it's not affecting him much at all either. It's only happened a couple times here, it looks like, but definitely something that you do have to keep an eye out for as a driver and hope that it doesn't persist. That's definitely something that you don't want to see happen more than a couple times at best. But David Bauer really getting a chance to air it out here in the number 35 machine, and staying just about a quarter of a second ahead of Micah Hendricks. Now, Micah Hendricks has about matched the pace here of that 35 machine. I mean, frankly, if he was on the tail of him, I mean, they'd probably be going the same speed, given that at that point, Micah would just be pushing David along here, which we've already seen in the sprint race with drivers kind of locking bumpers, and just a very, very interesting thing to see here coming from a predominantly oval background as far as my commentary goes. Not something I'm used to seeing outside of the world of NASCAR, but either way, I love to see it regardless. So let's tune back into some of the other battles that we have here. We've seen this one between Connor Acatella, Edward Gorman, Logan McKenzie, Dan McFarlane going on for quite some time now, but we gotta give love to some of our other drivers that are out here tonight. Scott Weib, I still not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but Kevin Clark gonna be alongside him here. Well, was alongside him there for a moment, but now that's going to give him the opportunity to try and continue to build that gap, or at least just hope that the guys behind him are going to make a mistake somewhere. They're going to go a little wide. They're going to have to do something to recover themselves, and hopefully that will slow them down enough to give them a chance to get some clean air. And, well, I got to tell you, it's very, well, refreshing for myself to see cars on the iRacing service that drafts so well. I mean, it feels like it's rare that you get racing like this, where the cars on road courses in particular, where the cars can just really get in on one another, and you don't really see too much separation as the race goes on. But also credit to the folks at Alpha Touring who host this league, who set up this league, and who have created this concoction of a series, and it seems to work very, very well for the drivers that they have and for the kind of racing that they put on. So it's, again, just something very refreshing to see, and I am all for it. Looking at the battle between Aaron Law and John Lazan here for 4th place, and you can also see just behind them Connor Acatella, Edward Gorman, Logan McKenzie, and friends, all of these drivers who have been interlocked with one another in this kind of group for some time now, as we are approaching a third of the way through our feature race here today. It makes me wonder when we'll start to see kind of a little bit more separation. Well, when we'll start to see these drivers really kind of get away from one another, given that we have that extra 10 minutes. We didn't really see too much of it in the sprint race. I'm expecting more or less the same here. But as time goes on, drivers will kind of, packs will start to separate a little bit more from one another, and things will kind of change from there. But, yeah, there it is. John Lazan disappearing again. It's just Again, just one of those things that you don't want to have happen too often, and luckily enough, he had enough space behind him that it wasn't too much of an issue, as he's battling with Aaron Law, the 38 Audi, for that 4th place position, and these drivers have been doing it for quite some times, and there it is again. Looks like he might have went a little wide that time, as he's going to fall back. Connor Roccatella going to get the move on the 26 machine, or excuse me, the 77 machine. It looks like a 26 on the side of there for some reason. I was also not looking at the right number board, so that would help. That would definitely help. Needless to say, David Bauer, Micah Hendricks. The battle for the lead continues to develop. David Bauer, after starting off in 2nd place here for our feature, out in front at the moment, and Micah Hendricks just behind him. He looks rather comfortable here, and he's starting to, according to timing and scoring, starting to slowly outpace Micah Hendricks here in as well. Actually, Slugnificent starting to catch up to him just slightly, but that might also be because of the draft that he's getting from Micah. Either way, David Bauer doing a phenomenal job here out in front, and gonna try and continue to hold this lead for the next roughly just under 20 minutes. As again, we've surpassed that 1/3 of the way mark. You can see now Aaron Law, he's been dragged into this, into the group of drivers that we've had here. Really the largest pack of drivers that we have all in kind of one place here. Aaron Law holding on to, whoa! I looked away from the screen for 1 second, and all of a sudden Aaron Law is in the wall. Let's take a look here. Oh, with the tap to the left rear quarter panel, sends the 38 just straight into the wall and spinning right back onto the track. Not an ideal spot here for Aaron Law. Oh, and man, even more contact being had just ahead of that. You can see the 7, 8, 9 of Eric Statzer getting involved in that one. And I think Raymond 2, yes, Raymond 2 also getting collected in that incident here. Micah Hendricks, David Bauer, they are duking it out for the lead here. Micah Hendricks wants that W, but David Bauer is not giving it up that easily. He's got great pace in that 35 machine. Let's see if he's going to continue to hold that momentum. Let's ride on board here with Slugnificent for just a moment as he gets a great run up to the rear end of David Bauer. Micah Hendricks now going to be to his outside, you see there. And Slugnificent backing off, going into turn 1 to allow himself to get that proper entry and keep himself up with these guys, and he's doing fantastic now. Alongside with Micah Hendricks, you can see just to the right-hand side of your screens. A tough battle between these drivers. Oh, and John Lazan John Lazan continuing to find himself with more of these connection issues. And I think for Edward Gorman and really the guys behind him as well, Yeah, that is such a tricky call to make, too, because John's going to continue to hold his line. He's going to keep racing, and assuming he doesn't make any sort of mistakes, I mean, they should be fine, but like any single mistake, if he gets sideways, if he goes spinning, and he reappears on track, that could mean the end for some of these drivers' race here if things go sour. Now we've got the teammates, Logan McKenzie and Connor Roccatella. They are both going to be right alongside with one another, or at least, well, stacked up behind each other. Okay, there. A lot of drivers are having issues here tonight, it seems like. Just up ahead, the battle for the lead. Heating back up, there's contact. Micah Hendricks really trying to send it here on David Bauer, but Slugnificent gonna take advantage of it as it happens. Contact between the two on the final turn. Slugnificent takes the lead. Micah Hendricks in second. David Bauer into third. Slugnificent now gonna try and hold on to this lead and fend off Micah as best as he can. With a little bit of room to work with, I'm sure he's probably going to be trying to shake that one off for a second, or at least let his nerves calm for a second, because I know I would be tense after that one. That would be that would definitely get my heart rate up for a second there. That's for certain. But the critical thing in races like this, and for drivers of this caliber, is the ability to stay calm and not let those things get to you, and just maintain your focus. That is the biggest thing, in not letting yourself get overwhelmed in the grand scheme of things. You have to stay calm. You have to stay focused. Speaking of calm and focus, Slugnificent feeling the pressure from Micah Hendricks as he gets the draft, looking to the left side of the 14 Honda. But Slugnificent, that right hand side in that turn, definitely having the advantage there. As the battle for the lead continues, we're starting to see that separation that I was anticipating to see more in this feature. We're seeing some parts of the tail end of the field start to see anywhere between 2 and 3 seconds of a gap between themselves and the rest of the field. A couple drivers have already taken themselves out of the race here, which is a very unfortunate thing to see. But with some drivers being involved in some fairly harsh incidents here, I would say it makes sense that the decision to take it behind the wall and just call it a day is probably for the best. And ultimately, sometimes, as we're watching the battle between Noel Fulgenzi and Kevin Clark, a lot of the times it's not even worth waiting the time in pit road to get repairs done and so on and so forth. It's often better to just say, you know what, that was a good race, we'll try again next time. Well, Fulgenzi doing a phenomenal job here in the 97 machine, holding off Kevin Clark here. Getting right up on that curb, seeing that left side get all the way up in the air there for a second. But up at the front, things are still very, very intense between Slugnificent, Micah Hendricks, and David Bauer. All three of these drivers have kept the intensity up all the race long. And it is just exciting to watch these guys go at it here. Just Micah Hendricks right on the bumper of the 14 of Slugnificent. Looks to the inside here, and he might just be able to pull it off. Goes wheel to wheel, almost. Yeah, there they... Can they keep it up as they head through the final turn? And they do. Micah Hendricks doing a great job of making sure that he left enough room there for Slugnificent and not trying to push him off track. That was definitely a very clean move here from Micah, and Slugnificent definitely giving it 150% here. And he's going to be back on the attack here as we are under 10 minutes left to go here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for round number 4 of the Alpha Touring Challenge season number 8. We'll take a look out the rear wing here for just a moment with Micah Hendricks and just get a look at what Slugnificent and David Bauer are doing to try and attack this this gap between themselves and Micah, or at least try and see what they can do here in these final few moments. I mean, there's really not much that they can do in all things considered. The best that they can do is just stay consistent. Consistency is your friend, and in this situation where passing is going to be virtually impossible, it's definitely in your best interest to just hold your line, stay consistent, and make sure that you're not making any mistakes that are going to cost you, you know, tenths, hundreds. Well, not hundreds. You get what I'm trying to say. I hope so, at least. Either way, and Edward Gorman here, we got to give a notice here to Edward. Up to 4th. After starting all the way in 10th place, Edward has got a great opportunity to try and at least crack his way into the top 3 if he can. And we've seen what he can do already in the sprint. Will he be able to pull it off here in the feature? Remains to be seen, but what we have seen from Edward Gorman has already been impressive in the fact that he's managed to work his way up here into the top 5. After starting in 10th, absolutely incredible. In a track like this, it is not an easy thing to do. As he's now going to be on the heel of David Bauer. Looks to the inside on turn 1, going to try and keep the momentum up, only inches separating them. But David Bauer is going to manage to hold on to that 3rd place position here. And Edward to go back into attack. We also have Dan McFarlane as well as Logan McKenzie trailing just behind Edward at this moment, and these two drivers are going to be looking, well, if they can get back up to, well, they're actually starting to close in on him as we speak. But for Logan McKenzie, he's got a little bit more, well, not much, but he's got a little bit more time to work with before he's back up there and fighting for those positions. But at this point, it's coming down to the wire. So we are just under 6 minutes left to go. Micah Micah Hendricks with the points lead right now. If he can continue to hold on to this lead and come away with a win here tonight, I do believe that should keep himself in that points lead. And for Slugnificent, that will also help him in the points, even though points are done by drivers' real names. And unfortunately for myself, Slugnificent, I'm not sure of their real name, so we'll have to leave that a mystery for the time being until I can figure out his real name. But either way, Edward Gorman, here in the third place position, sits sixth in points at the moment. So this will be a good points day for himself if he can keep up this momentum here and come away with a third place finish. Now, as far as for his team, I'm actually not certain what team Edward Gorman is currently racing for. I don't think he actually is racing for a team, which is perfectly fine. So again, Edward Gorman going to be looking for a good points day, and I think he just might be, it just might be the day for that for himself. Dan McFarlane in third place in today's race sits 15th in the points at the moment, given that this is his second race that I've seen him in since we started. So all things considered, I would say that is a fairly decent start after missing the first two races and being here for this race and the last one. He's off to a really good start. Now, Micah Hendricks, he is, at this time, he's got just about a second between himself and Slugnificent, and with Edward Gorman, Dan McFarlane, Logan McKenzie, Connor Roccatella all behind him at this moment. They're all kind of in their own pack. It is, well, it's going to be a tough break here if Micah makes any mistakes, but Mike has been very consistent, and he is showing that consistency here, even in these final few minutes. Right now, the battle for second place really starting to heat up as almost the hottest battle on track is just behind them. Dan McFarlane, Connor Roccatella, Logan McKenzie, they're duking it out tooth and nail as well. The Slugnificent, Edward Gorman, they continue the fight for second place, and Edward Gorman has managed to crack his way into a podium finish here in the feature, and I just gotta commend Edward for his performances here tonight. Absolutely incredible. Coming away with the win in the sprint race and finishing it out with potentially, if he can keep this up, 2 minutes left to go, he's on the tail of Slugnificent. Third place might not be enough here for Edward, but it's dwindling down to the final moments here, and I don't think Edward's going to have enough time to... He's definitely not going to have enough time to catch up to Micah, but for Slugnificent, on the other hand, he's definitely on the hunt to try and secure that position as best as he can. A few other battles that we have on track here as we enter in the final few moments. Stefan Lakota and Kirk Lane, the battle for 12th place here at the moment between these two drivers. They're, taking it relatively smoothly, relatively easy at this point, not being too aggressive. And at this point in the race, I would be doing exactly the same thing. They're still pushing, mind you. They're still definitely giving it their all, but they're definitely not looking to put themselves in the wall at this point in the race. As we enter a minute left to go, Edward Gorman looking on the tail of Slugnificent. Still about a quarter of a second separates these two drivers, but that can change very quickly here as Edward gets into the draft. Looks to the inside here. Gonna go side by side, almost there was Slugnificent. Not quite going to be able to make it happen this time around. But Gorman definitely doing a phenomenal job here. As we'll ride on board here for just the final 20 seconds that we have here. There it is, the 30-minute mark, and as we approach the S's here, Edward Gorman, this is going to be his final chance to make anything happen, and I don't think he's going to be too, he's definitely not going to try anything too brave here. And there it is across the line. That's going to be a third-place finish here for Edward Gorman. Slugnificent comes in second, and Micah Hendricks with the win after coming away with a win from last week. He decided that was not enough, and Micah Hendricks comes away with another win tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. A fantastic race here for Micah Hendricks and for Team Curb Your Enthusiasm. And as drivers get themselves wrapped up, we are going to go ahead and get ready for post-race interviews and also pull up our post-race results here. So that way you folks at home can see where your favorite driver finished. And also, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway. All right, so as we await for drivers to make their way up here into the booth, we'll go ahead and run through the top 10 of our, well, we'll just run through them. We'll run through the results here. Micah Hendricks coming away with your race win here tonight. Slugnificent in second. Edward Gorman in third place. Logan McKenzie in fourth. Dan McFarlane in fifth place. Connor Acatella in sixth. David Bauer in seventh. Zach Perry in eighth place. With Mark Darnell in ninth. Scott Weib in 10th place. Noel Fulgenzi in 11th. Stephen Lakota in 12th place. Kirk Lane in 13th. Eric Statzer in 14th. Kevin Clark in 15th. John Lazan in 16th. Raymond 2 in 17th. And Aaron Law in 18th. First up in the booth that we're going to have here tonight, because we're going to do things a little out of order, and that's A-okay. First up in the booth that we're going to have here today is going to be Mr. Slugnificent. Let's go ahead and bring him down here. Mr. Slug, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on a podium finish here for the feature race here tonight, and it's going to be a good day for yourself and for Team Yellow Flag Motorsports as far as points are concerned. I mean, it was a great day of racing, both the sprint and the feature. Lots of action to be seen, but this is the first time that I've been here to this track. And Slug, I mean, it really seemed like it definitely looked like passing was not something that was going to be easy here. And if you were going to make it happen, it really had to come down to if you had that, if you had the speed, if you had the momentum, and if the guy ahead of you is making any sort of mistakes. But kind of walk me through what was some challenges that you faced here tonight, and what was kind of your expectation as far as where you were going to end up when the checkered flag came out.
Yeah, so I didn't expect to finish where I did, especially in the second heat there. I think I got a little lucky with a couple moves that happened with the racing in front of me there. And I think just my expectation today was just to get through it. I know that my car isn't great down the straights, and that's really what matters at this track. So got through today, and hopefully can get on to some races where the Honda will be stronger.
Well, and it definitely, it was very interesting to me. I have never driven these cars before, so I can't really speak too much on it, but it was very interesting the way that this race kind of flowed and how these cars in this car track combo kind of mix. But either way, I think it was a great day for yourself, and looking forward to next week. We head to Road Atlanta which is going to be another track that's going to be a lot of, going to be another place where passing isn't going to be quite as easy. What's kind of your goals and expectations heading next week into Road Atlanta?
I think next week is just to practice as much as I can. Traditionally, I'm pretty good at Road Atlanta. Just trying to make as much headway in the championship rattle as I can. With things getting shaken up here in these sprint races, it gets really important to really nail your performance in the longer ones.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely it's unique going from these kind of 20-30 setups to a full hour long race. Definitely kind of a unique way to go about things, but I'm all here for it. It's definitely a very interesting kind of way to do things, and it's refreshing. But either way, Slugnificent, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you up here in the booth. It's really great to see you doing well out here and coming away with these podium finishes, and hopefully get to see you come away with a win soon. But before I let you go, man, and before you go and crack open a cold one and celebrate with your fellow drivers and teammates, anyone you want to shout out, anyone at home, pit crew, the floor is yours.
Oh no, man! I think just shouting out my teammates, they really helped me out tonight with the racing behind me and keeping the drivers around me at bay there. Edward was really going through the field there, and I think my teammates really helped me out in keeping him at bay and helping me with that second place finish there. So thanks to my teammates.
Well, Slug, it was an absolute pleasure to have you up here in the booth. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to get to talk to you again more in the future, and good luck to you next week at Road Atlanta.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Have a good one. Alrighty, folks, so that was Slugnificent out of the booth, coming away with second place here tonight, doing things a little bit out of order, but that's all right. Moving on to the next driver, Edward Gorman, coming away with a third place finish here tonight. Edward, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on a podium here tonight in the feature race, but also the win in the sprint race. I mean, man, you are on fire here today. You came away with the win in the sprint race. You started in 10th in the feature and just crushed it to get up all the way into third. Now, I'm sure that's probably not where you want it to be. You definitely were giving Slugnificent a good run there in the final couple laps before the end of the race here. But, Ed, I mean, kind of walk me through your preparation for tonight's race. I mean, it seemed like you definitely had a lot of experience on this track here, and just how to kind of maneuver yourself around this track. You seem to have it down a little bit better than other drivers here tonight.
I had a great race in IMPC on Friday in that split, and it was just a good setup, good feel for the track, and that was a hot track. And it was cooling down, and it was even cooler here, so it just felt really good. Just able to, roll through the corners and brake really late. Just felt good.
Well, Ed, it was definitely great to see great performances from yourself in both the sprint as well as in the feature. I'm sure that's going to help you pretty well going into the point standings. Now, if I recall correctly, currently you sit 6th place at 99 points. I'm sure after tonight that will change, and with a first place and a podium finish here tonight, I'm sure that's definitely going to give you a good boost. Now, looking forward to Road Atlanta, what's kind of your goals there? Do you hope to come away with a win there, or what's your expectations as we head to a hour-long race next week at Road Atlanta?
I do like Road Atlanta, but I struggle through the S's, and especially exiting the S's. I'm going to have to work on figuring that out.
Well, Ed, I look forward to seeing what you have in store, what tricks you have up your sleeve in preparations for Road Atlanta. But before I let you go celebrate, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank before you go?
I just want to apologize to David again, that contact into turn 3. That was just bad on my part.
Well, Ed, it's a pleasure to get to talk to you up here in the booth, and I'm sure that he won't be too upset with you after tonight. But Ed, good luck to you going into next week, and hopefully get to talk to you again more in the future.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night. Alrighty, folks, so that was Edward Gorman coming out of the booth with a 3rd place finish here tonight. Now, the man of the hour, the man coming away with the win and the feature win here tonight, Micah, welcome to the booth. Congratulations, and what a race. This was quite an interesting one for myself. first time I've ever been to this track, so I was completely oblivious to what the racing was going to be like, and it kind of it blew my mind a little bit, and just how close some of these battles were, and just how difficult passing was here. I mean, Micah, what was kind of your thought process going into today's race? I mean, just everyone's fighting for positions, especially at the very start when everyone's side by side with one another, and it really doesn't start to spread out until a good 10 to 15 laps into the race, or well, maybe a little less, about 5-10 laps into the race. But Micah, what was, just kind of run me through what was kind of your what was some worries that you might have had, or really how did you expect tonight to go for yourself?
I wasn't super confident coming in tonight. I'm really not a fan of this track with the TCRs. It just never worked well with me. And then still not on the preferred car, still on the Veloster. So I just kind of have to say I got a little lucky and unlucky in the first heat race, because Dan and I were having that really good battle for first place. And then we were both going for the same spot and a little bit of net code for that contact in the heat. That saw me go backwards a little bit, which is a bad thing, but then in turn it gives me a favorable starting position for the features. So I was a little bit separated from the people I was racing the heat race, which gave a little bit of an advantage. So really the key was the first couple laps, just keep it clean. You can't score points if you don't finish. So that was really the goal, and then just kind of keeping the car one piece, keeping the tires under temperature, and really good racing with David and Slug out there, Robert Abrams out there. That was a ton of fun. So really happy to come away with the win. A little bit lucky, but I'll take it.
Well, and for yourself, it's going to be a good boost in the points, and I'm sure that it'll probably be pretty close between yourself and Logan McKenzie once things are all said and done, but maybe not quite as close as I think, but I won't know until points are updated, so we won't get too deep into that right now. But for yourself and for your team, Curb Your Enthusiasm, I mean, you guys are looking pretty good right now, and you guys are close to being in the fight between Real Friends Racing and Breakfast for Dinner. And coming into next week and going into Road Atlanta, what's kind of your goal there? Is your goal to try and build up on those team points, or is it purely just focus on personal performance and just execute and try and get those podiums, get those wins?
Well, I definitely want to work together with the team. Fortunately, none of them could make it today, so I was kind of the sole carrier for things today. So looking forward to Road Atlanta next week. I have some testing I need to do, because some of these guys are getting really, really quick. Edward was, I think Edward was kind of the car to beat the whole day, so he raced through the field really well. And then I know another really fast racer that you haven't seen participate this season, James Carr, will be there next week. So he's always really fast, especially at Road Atlanta. So I think going into next week, I'm going to focus a little bit on some setups and talk with the team and see if we can have some ideas for next week.
Well, I certainly look forward to it, and I've really enjoyed seeing the battles that have developed both between just drivers and points and as well as the teams. It's always great to see. But Micah, I certainly look forward to getting to see you race again next week. Before I let you go, before you get to celebrating, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thank you to, the floor is yours.
I give a quick shout out to Francois. He wasn't able to race tonight, but he gave me the setup. Gave me a good setup for tonight to give me that win. Again, my family watching back home. My wife, she just walked out of the room, but that's all right. So, and then, just shout out to all the guys that we were racing out there tonight. It looked like really good racing throughout the field. That's what we all love to see. It's for me the races where it's a hard fought, even if you come away second, could be sometimes more fun than just lapping by yourself. So just shout out to everybody there, Edward, Slug, David Bauer, Logan McKenzie, Dan McFarland. So just really shout out to them for keeping this league a ton of fun and, making me have to work my butt off out there.
Well, you know what, and it makes for some excellent racing, and I think it's great to see. everyone kind of push each other to get to that point and be as fast as you can be. So it's really great to see the competition between you guys and see how close it is. It's incredible. You don't get to see this too often in the iRacing world, and I'm sure you probably know that just as well as I, or if not even more so. But either way, Micah, thank you for being a part of being here tonight and for joining me up here in the booth, and I certainly look forward to seeing you next week, and good luck to you, and hopefully get to talk to you again next week.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a great night. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it for us tonight. It has been a phenomenal day here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for round number 4 of the Alpha Touring Challenge, season number 8. Folks, if you enjoyed what you saw here tonight, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Catch all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad almost 7 nights a week. Thank you all for tuning in and watching, and I will see you all same time and same place next week. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the 1-on-1 up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 to lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.